have seen a couple of examples and also how to write a simple program, and we basically saw the architecture of the WebDriver. So we discussed why we need browser drivers because they support automation. And also we have seen some of the methods, like how to open a URL in a browser and how to get the title, and also how to compare the expected versus actual results. So we have also taken an example from TestNG framework. Like TestNG, we have installed TestNG. We made TestNG libraries available, and then we have written a program using assert method. So using that, we have compared whether the expected URL is same as the actual URL or not. And we have seen a few examples also of the programs. So let me start with some questions. You can answer them in the chart. Okay. So my first question is WebDriver a class or an interface? Okay, yes. Yes, WebDriver is an interface. So whose methods are implemented by the corresponding WebDriver classes. Correct, that is correct. Okay, my next question. Why we need browser drivers? We have seen that different browser drivers are needed. Why is not WebDriver itself not sufficient? Have you explained? Have you explained the reason for the need of different browser drivers? What is the need of different browser drivers or executables? Can't we directly automate from Eclipse using Java code and WebDriver? Can't we directly automate the real browser? Okay, I don't see any answers, but let me explain. Yes, we need browser drivers because they support the automation. So whatever the actions that we send as form of the WebDriver APIs, so these browser drivers will support those methods. So in a way, they support the automation. That's why we need browser drivers in addition to WebDriver. Okay. My third question, give 2 examples of any Selenium or WebDriver API methods. Just type in any 2 methods, API methods that you remember. We have seen a couple of examples also. You might have worked on the exercises too. Hello. Hello, is my voice audible?
Yeah, yes.
Yes, Anu.
Okay.
Yeah, get current. You are current.
Okay. I could not see the chart. Okay, let me try. Yes, yeah, get current URL. Yeah, what is the other method? Can anyone name any other method of API methods, WebDriver API methods? Okay, fine. Okay, get navigate. Okay, so get title. Yeah, yes, correct. So correct. So these are the examples of API methods. My fourth question. Um, what find elements method return? Uh, Let me be more clear. What kind of data type find elements returns? Find elements method returns. Find elements, not find element. Correct. List of web elements. It returns a list of the web elements matching the locator, whichever tag name or div or ID name, whatever we give. So those elements which map with which have the same criteria of that criteria that we mentioned, it will return that list of those web elements. Okay. My next question is string a class or a data type? Is string a class or a data type? So string is not a class. String is a class also. Yes, it is both. Yes, it is both. We can directly, if we treat it as a data type, we can directly assign a value in double quotes, or we can also use it as by creating an object of string class using new keyword, new and new string, and in the double quotes we can give the value. So it is both. It can be used as a class too. Okay. Okay, that is fine. So let me also quickly go through the exercises that I have given. Okay, the first exercise is write a program to check if the entered URL in the browser is same as that is displayed after opening the site. This one I have covered in the last session, an example as an example. So I'm not showing it again in the interest of time. The second one, I have just given that exercise for you to practice, but I have already shown it in the last class. The second one, write a program to find out the number of total hyperlinks or links in a web page. Okay, so this is, okay, let me share my screen and show this example. This is very simple. Just give me a few seconds, I'm sharing the screen. Is my screen visible?
Yes, Anna, it's visible.
Okay, yeah, sure. So we find, see, we find, see, when we say number of links, that means it is more than one. So we should use not, we should use find elements because we are going to find out the number of elements. So it is not just a single element. Since it is multiple elements, we have to use find elements. And the links have a tag, anchor tag. So there are different types of tags are available. For links, we use anchor tag. So the tag name is anchor. So we can use by tag name A to find out to represent the links. And then we can use method size. So since it is a list, we can get the size. Size is nothing but the number. Okay. So if we run this one, I'm opening google.com, and I'm finding out the tag names and their size. So let me quickly run this program. Okay, see, if you see, there are total 27 links. 27 links are there. Okay, so how we can know? We can just go through. For example, if we see this is Gmail is anchor tag. If you see, if you observe, there is a.gb underscore z. So that is a anchor tag. This is also images as also a link, which is anchor tag. So like that, in this page, there are around 27 anchor tags or links. Okay, all these are links. Okay. And also, let me go through the second third exercise, which is to open browser, maximize it, and give search text. Okay, and then search by that search text, wait for some time, and then close the browser, right? So let me comment out my earlier one. Okay, I'm opening a browser, and then I'm maximizing it using window.maximize. And then I'm finding the search edit box, which has name as Q. Last week also we have seen this one. And I'm sending the text using send keys method. So this is my search text. Okay. And then I'm clicking on the button to search. Okay. One, the visible element. So if the search button is covered by any drop down, then we cannot click that one. For example, I will show this one. For example, I am here clicking. I want to click something. Hello. So I entered this text hello, but can I click on search button now? I cannot click, right? So I need to move. In order for me to click on this search button, that button should be visible. So same way, Selenium also cannot identify the object if it is not visible, and Selenium cannot perform action on an element if it is not visible. So I need to click somewhere, and then I have to click on search button. Okay, then only it will work. So that's why in the same way, I also after entering the text, I am clicking on the logo, which is Google logo, and then I am, this is the Google logo, and then I am clicking. If I click here, then the drop down will go and Google search button will be visible. And then I am clicking here. So that's what I am doing in the program. Okay. Okay. Let me run this. So it is opening the browser, maximizing it. Okay. Enter hello world. Okay. Let us see if there is any error. So an error is thrown. Let us see how to handle this one. It says element not interactable exception. Okay. So we will see what is the error, why it is not interactable. Okay. So sometimes these XPaths will be dynamic. Okay. So it could be a dynamic XPath. So this could be changing. So let me comment it out and directly, let me try to directly click on the search button. Okay. Let us see. Browser open, maximized. Yes. Okay. Now it clicked on the search button and it waited for 3 seconds and then browser has been closed. Okay. So this is how we will do. Okay. So this is the third exercise. Okay. These are the exercises. I think you might also have tried it. And with this, I will hand over to Ebenezer. Ebenezer, please take it on from here.
Thank you, Anna. Thanks, Manana. I think everyone is able to hear my voice, right?
Yes, Ebenezer, it's clear. Yeah, you can be a bit louder, maybe.
Okay, okay. Yeah, last time I think I was not that clear, so just wanted to make sure like my voice is clear.
It's okay. It's okay for me.
Yeah. So if anyone has any issues with the voice, then probably you can uh, put your comments on the chat.
It's okay.
So
Yeah, it's good. We can proceed.
yeah, I'm just sharing my screen. Let me know if you're able to see. Hope everyone is able to see my screen.
Oh, yes, Anna.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So today we'll start our session 3. So before I get into the topics, let me show you what all I will try to, what is the agenda and what is the target of this particular session, today's session. Okay, so this is the session 3. So as part of this session 3, we will try to cover all these things, but if time permits, we'll try to cover. Otherwise, like at least the first 4, we'll try to cover. Yeah, first thing that we will cover in today's session is like object identification. That is nothing but the locators. So what is the concept, or what are the different mechanisms that we have in place in Selenium to identify any object on the target application? Okay, what are the different ways that we can identify an object on the application? When I say an object, it may be a drop down box, it may be a text text field, or it may be a radio button. Everything that is available on an application, maybe it is a URL or anything which you see on the application is called an object. So how to identify those objects? What are the different mechanisms that we have in place to identify that particular object? So we will see that, we'll learn that. So second thing is web element methods. Okay, so what is the purpose of web elements, web element methods? What is the purpose, where it is used? So we will try to learn this, what is the purpose and where it is used and why we need to use. Okay, we will learn something about like what, when, how, like that. And then we'll go to assertions. I think last time couple of things Sumanana covered, what is assertion. We will try to see what are the different assertions that we have in Selenium, at least the major very frequently used assertions. Then we will move on to synchronization concept. Synchronization is nothing but what are the different types of weights that Selenium supports, and majorly what all we will use in real time. Okay, this is about the synchronization. And finally, if time permits, let's look into how to automate radio buttons, checkboxes, and drop-down lists. So this is the agenda of for today's session. So before I get into the next slide, I'll just give you an overview of everything of what we will do today. Okay, in just one slide. It's not just of today's topics, it is about Selenium. So this is the overall that we will target in any Selenium test case. Okay, this is the core concept that we need to keep in mind. One is, the first step one is to locate the object. Any test case will have these 3 steps. This is the basic, I would say, structure of a test case. Okay, so the first step is you need to locate the object. Okay, and then once we successfully locate the object, then we will perform some action on that particular object. And then once we are done with the performance on that particular action, then the reaction will be the what is the output that we will take it and publish as a result. Okay, so this is the 3 steps. We locate the object, perform the action, publish the result. Okay, every test case can be divided into these 3 I would say steps or modules or whatever. And these are the 3 important modules that every test case will contain. And any assignment or anything that we get into, so we need to divide that particular question or whatever into these 3 things before we start writing the answer for it, before we start giving the answer for that particular test case, or before we automate any test case. So in this particular thing, locating an object we will cover using object identification concept. Performing the action little bit we will see it through web element methods. So I'll tell you once again, locating the object, step 1 will be covered as part of object identification concept. Okay, and step 2, initial part, to some extent I would say some 40% of it will be covered in today's topic, that is web element methods. Okay, and the final step is publishing the results, that will be covered in the upcoming sessions. So this is the basic idea of any test case, how we analyze the test case. So let me move on to the next slide. So the first concept that as part of today's session is object identification, that is locators. So it is like, let me take any example. For example, so okay, I would say there are, you can see on my screen, ID, name, partial link, test tag name, CSS name, CSS selector, and next path. So these are the different attributes, I would say, exactly the attributes of any object. When I say any object, just to understand before you get into the actual meaning of all these attributes, just try to analyze, so that you have to learn something from this session, so that like no need of again like looking back learning or by hearting or something like that. Just try to simulate this concept with the real time example, so that you truly understand the concept instead of remembering the names and all. For example, I'll just tell you what is an object. Anything in this world is an object. Okay, even myself, I'm an object. Okay, anything that has its own unique attributes is an object. Okay, so my computer is an object. So whatever when I say it is an object, it should have some attributes. So I would say the attributes of my laptop is it has like a i5 i5 processor, and it has some 1 TB of hard disk, and it has some 8 GB of RAM. So these are all the attributes of my laptop. Okay, so when I consider my laptop as a object, okay, then these are all the attributes. In the same way, in the DOM, in the DOM structure, what will happen is it will everything which is on the application is considered as an object. When we consider each and everything as an object, then it will have its own attributes. Okay, so it will have its own attributes. Those attributes are called in the name of ID, name, partial link text tag. So these are the different attribute names. When I say attribute names, it will have a value for it. Okay, so as I said, my laptop is there. Okay, if laptop is an object, then it has its attributes. I will say attribute is like RAM size. Okay, RAM size will have its value. And processor, and what is a processor, what is the like a name of the processor, or what is the capacity of the processor, or something like that. It is the value of the every attribute will have its own unique value. Sometimes the value may repeat, but at least one attribute of the object makes it unique. So like that, these are the different attributes of the project of an object. Okay, everything that we see on an application is an object. Everything that we see on an application. Okay, yeah, so like everything that we see on an application is an object. So for example, if we open a Google homepage, okay, then we will see like a text box kind of like many things. So like that, so all these are objects. Let me show you a real time, and then like I will teach you the just give me 1 second. I just pause the sharing. Hope now you are able to see my screen, right? So I am at the Google homepage. So for example, so this is how you need to inspect an element. See, for example, this is an homepage. Okay, this is a Google homepage. Just I would encourage everyone, don't, when I open everything, don't try to grab everything what is there on the screen, or try to just try learning the concept that we discuss. Only we are discussing the object identification concept. In that, we are trying to analyze what is an object, and we came to know that every object will have its own attributes, and that attributes will have a value. Just try to learn only this much, then we'll go step by step. Because learning a locators is a basic concept in Selenium. If we are able to achieve this, then I think, as I showed you the 3 steps, the basic fundamental step will be able to say that I know Selenium to some extent. Okay, so I told you, for example, this is a Google homepage. See, this is a Gmail link. This is an object. Image link. This is an object. This is an object. Even this particular icon is an object. So this Google, this particular text is an object. So this particular text field is an object. Okay, this particular icon, search by voice, is an object. So everything that you see, on a any application or a web page is an object, is considered as an object. So whenever you wanted to know the attributes, okay, attributes, let it be at any attribute, whenever we wanted to find or locate an object, what you will do, if it is a Chrome, if it is this is a Chrome browser, right? So what you will do, you will just right click on that particular object. For example, I clicked on this text. Okay, I wanted to find out this attributes of this particular text. This is okay. So I'll right click on it and I'll click on inspect. Okay, so when I inspect, so when I hover my mouse on this, you're able to see that my Google, this particular logo is getting highlighted. Okay, so title is a attribute and it has value called Google. Class is an attribute, it has a value called show logo. And ID is an attribute which has a value of logo default. So this particular logo, which is Google, has an ID, has an attribute called ID, and it has a value of logo default. Okay, this is how. So what is a syntax? Now we came to know there is an ID for this. So we wanted to first locate. So the ideal, what we wanted to is, we want to click on this particular logo. Okay, so as I told you, the 3 steps. First step is like, you have to find out locate the object. So now somehow we got the ID value, but we should know whether that particular ID value is unique or not. Whether using this particular ID, whether I'm able to identify this particular logo uniquely or not. Okay, so how you will do that? So what you will do, first you will copy this one ID. I'm just copying the value of ID. At the same time, what you have to do, so we have to learn something about DOM structure. This is entire thing is a DOM structure. So anything, this particular ID is there, right? All the attributes are inscript in one are inside one tag. This is the tag. Div is a tag. This tag is called anchor tag. Okay, the attributes are always inside one tag. That tag is nothing but, we call it as an anchor tag. Okay, so anytime if you wanted to identify any particular object through its attributes, we have to first find out the properties of the attributes along with the anchor tag that it holds. So I'm just doing Control F on this particular DOM structure. I got some here. I got some text box here. I'm just writing backward slash twice, and I'm just giving the anchor tag as div. Okay, or we can directly write as a ID is equal to something. I just gave whatever the ID that I have here, I just gave directly here. So when you can see here 1 of 1, hope you can see my screen very clearly. In the downside, you can see 1 of 1. Okay, so this is not only this is getting highlighted, but also the logo is getting highlighted when I hover my mouse on here on this particular yellow highlighted value. Okay, so in enter DOM structure, in enter this particular page, the value of this ID is reflecting only once. is reflecting only once. Okay, so then I will conclude that this ID value is unique. If, for example, if it has more than one, it will show you 2 of 1. I will show you that also. For let me take some other okay, I'll just take Google and I'll just paste here. Okay, how many times Google is there? 1 of 79 times Google is there. You can just use this arrow marks to navigate through. Okay, so like that. So we want a unique attribute. Okay, a unique attribute. So this is how we will try to find out the first. You'll just right click on this, go to the click on inspect. You will arrive onto the, in the DOM, you will arrive onto the exact line of the DOM structure of that particular object that you wanted to inspect, and it will have its values. Try to take that values and write the code. How to write the code using .id? So the first our method is id, right? So I have given some syntax over here. So this is the syntax. Driver dot. I think in the last session we have learned how to initiate the driver through the example given by Suman. Okay, so once we initiate the driver, just use like this: driver dot find element. Okay, this is a method. In this, by is again a class. By dot method. Okay, what is that method? These are all the methods. By dot id, and here inside this particular, inside this x-axis, whatever is there, I will write the attributes. When I say attributes, I will write @id is equal to the value that is there. And what you wanted to do, you want to perform any action on it? Yes, I want to click on it. You can mention .click. No, I don't want to click. I want to take the text out of it, anything, or you can use .get text or something. So you just learn till only till here. Don't learn after. We will learn in the next few minutes. What happens after dot? So you need to learn only from here. By dot. When I say by dot, these are all the methods. ID is a method. Name is a method, partial link, like that. Let me show you using my, what to say, Eclipse. Yeah, last time when Suman was telling this all these test engine annotations, right? I was also just writing a couple of things, like just to show you, after method. For example, if you write everything, some before method, after method, test in any order, and if you run it, so this will be the output. You can practice in your home, what is the order in which in which all these methods get executed based on the output. So here, if you can see, before method got executed, and first test method got executed, this first method, and that afterwards after method. Okay, so this is how you can practice the TestNG annotations. So here, let me show you. I did not initiate any driver here. Maybe I'll for the benefit of time, I will try to copy paste. I'm just trying to copy paste only these things. I'm just creating a class. I am not using if you needed public static void main, we can click on this. Okay, like if not, if you are using TestNG and JUnit annotations, this is not required. Okay, so going forward, we will try to practice the TestNG methods, but because in the real time, no one we will not use this public static void main as far as needed. Okay, so I'm not using it. I'm just creating a dummy class. Okay. So now I just created. So I just wanted to write some example of these locators. Okay, that is the reason I just created a demo2 underscore locators example. So to initiate the driver, okay, to initiate the driver, I'm just trying to copy paste some code from my previous. I'm just removing all these things. So what I'm trying to do is, I am trying to forget about all these things. So I'm trying to initiate a driver, okay, in this before method, and I'm trying to quit the driver in the after method. Okay, so don't think too much of this. Okay, it is just that when if only thing that at this point of time, at this point of time when you're learning from basics, you have to just remember, you have to learn step by step. So in that process, for now you have to remember that this is something a syntax. These two lines are some syntax, that needs to be whenever we wanted to work with any browser. Okay, any browser. For example, now we are working with a Chrome browser. If we want to work with a Chrome browser, this is the prerequisite. Just learn, that's it. At this point, later after some point of time, after we going through multiple examples, you will learn the actual significance in a higher measure. Okay, so as of now, just remember that this is a prerequisites before we work on with any browser, any Chrome browser, or if it is a Firefox, then we will write here as a Gecko driver or something. So always browser initiation or a driver initiation should be in the before method. Okay, and quitting that particular thing should be closing that particular browser will be always in the after method. Okay, in that before method, after method is done, now we have to write our own methods, our own test cases. I would say it's not a method, our own. We can also call it as a method. Here all the classes or all the test cases, we can call it as a method. So every method in TestNG needs to be annotated by @test. So @test. So first I gave a name as a test1, and this is the test. So now, and here I'm just trying to just print for our test1, a name of the method. Probably you would have seen this particular URL last time. This particular method, it is a driver method. So, and we are trying to print it. Okay, we are trying to print it using we have just taken over here into this a string page title. I'm trying to print it. Okay, coming to our thing now, I wanted to navigate now. Driver dot. So I want to open the Google Chrome. Okay. So I'm trying to first navigate through I want to navigate through to this particular. I think here itself it is given. I'm just removing it. So after I navigate here, I wanted to, for now, I wanted to wait till the page gets loaded. Okay, so I wanted to put some hard stop, some wait statement kind of hard wait kind of. Some I wanted to put as a some 3 seconds or 5 seconds. So don't bother about what I'm writing in this line. Just learn this line is to have an hard wait. So it is just I'm trying to wait some 5 seconds. Okay. So don't bother. This some throws is coming and all. Don't bother. Now we are learning only the uh, how to write ID, how to identify an object through IDs of the different methods. Writing some comment. Okay. So now we have Google homepage opened. So now we wanted to find. Now we wanted to find text what to say some text what. So write something into it. First locate this particular text field and write something into it. So this is the these are the different attributes. See carefully. So class, max length, name, type, J, sanction. So area, autocomplete. These are all the attributes, and it has its own values. All these attributes are inscribed into a anchor tag called input. Okay, remember this. Okay, so now for now we'll try to take the ID is not there. Is it ID is there or not? Okay, ID is not there. That's fine. So if ID is not there, so we will go to this particular thing. Since we wanted to write some example for ID. Okay, so I'm just trying to copy this. Go to our driver dot. So find element by dot. So when you click on dot, you will have all the methods. So now we want to work with ID. So it is asking what is that ID you are working with. So you have to give the value in the double quotes. Okay. So I gave by dot ID of the one and dot. I wanted to click on it. Okay. Done. So now I'm saving it. I'm trying to close all the. I will run it. So I closed all the Chrome browsers. Let's see if there are any errors. Okay. I will remove these methods because if we have this method, the browser will be closed. We want it to be opened. Okay. So let me run it. So when you run it, just right click. Since I have used I used annotations of testng, go to run as, and you'll have a testng here. So let's see. So some error. Okay, sorry. I just passed since I copied. This is the problem of copy paste. So it is done. Failure is 0. We are just clicking on it, so nothing is happening. So even if you manual click on this, nothing is happening. Okay, but if it is not able to, if it does not able to click, then it will show error. Okay, if it did not, if it is not finding that an element, then it will show error. I will just give you an example. So here I'm giving the actual buy.id of HP logo, right? This is the value I copy pasted from the DOM. So I will give some different what to say, value of for the ID. So I'll include some 1 2 3 here, HP logo 1 2 3. So I'm saving it. I'll just close this. Okay, I'll run here again to show how if our value of the ID that we gave it, if it is wrong, how it will throw the error. Yeah, it is done, terminated. You can see failure. Previously it was passed, so we can see we can learn how to debug also. So some failure has happened. Why? What is that failure? Okay, so come here. So it shows no such element is found. Unable to locate the element. Unable to locate the element with the method that is id and the value that is. So with this value, which is the value of an id, I'm unable, Selenium is telling us I'm unable to locate the element. Got it? So this is how it says that is the reason. This is one of the exception. No such element found. Which such element is this particular element, the element which has a value of logo HP123 with the id, it is not there. So this is how we will try to debug. So in this particular, if you read carefully the error message, we'll be able to see what is that error. Okay, so now this particular is not, this is not there. And if I run again, I'll remove the 1 2 3. I just saved it, closing the window. Yeah, it is done. Previously there was one failure. Now there is 0 failures and it is passed. Let me show you the. So there is no failure messages here. First it printed start of the before method because I gave it in the system.out.println start of the before method. Once that is done, I'm trying to print as test1. Here it is printed as test1, and finally it is passed. There are no failures. Okay. So this is how we will try to uh, write the. We try to work with ID. Try to locate any object using the its attribute called ID. Of course, its corresponding value. So now let's go one step further, and we will try to learn some other methods. I'll not spend too much time on the remaining like in on all the methods. What are the main methods out there? I will try to focus on those methods. Remaining probably like you can practice on you can practice. Okay, so now we will try to write something on in the text box. Okay, so I want to write something in this particular like text box. So welcome to so something Selenium learning Selenium or something like that. So right click on the object that we wanted to identify. Click on inspect. Okay, so you'll have you'll have all the DOM being opened. So I think okay. Okay, so if we are not able to you can also do like this. Just click on this extreme left, select an element in the page to inspect. Click on this, go here, click. So it will open up the DOM for the target element that we wanted to work with. So we can see many n number of attributes of that particular object are being displayed. So let me take, maybe I'll go with the name. First we finished with ID, right? Now let's go with name. So I'm trying to copy this, copy the, and Control F, just paste it here. We'll see how many are there. This is an anchor tag. Always anchor tags should come in the bit in the front and have the square brackets at the rate name equals paste, only one. So this is how we write XPath, but in order to write XPath, we need all those anchor tags and everything. So I will tell you how to write the XPath also. That is a basic thing. That is a main thing. So now I'm done. I'll just go to the driver.find element by dot name. We want to work with. You'll have a class name also, so don't get confused. Class name is also one of the attribute. As name is a one attribute, as ID is an attribute, class name is also. If you think class name is unique, you can go ahead with class name. So I'm just giving an example of by dot name. So in the double quotes, we have to have a attribute of the value of that particular attribute dot. Now you can do something on this particular object. Now till here we were able to uniquely identify the text field. Now dot, after we identify the object, what you wanted to do with that particular object, what action you wanted to perform on that particular object. You want to write on it, or you want to click on it, or you want to take some value out of it, or whatsoever. Now here in this case, we want to write something onto it. If we have to write something onto it, we have to use sendKeys method, dot sendKeys, and write something. Okay, Selenium learning or interface interskill team. Okay, something. And so you have written something on it and you wanted to click enter also. That we'll see that also. So as of now, we'll go step by step. So I will run this. I will run this. So for me, it should open, and probably it should click on the Google. Of course, there will be no output kind of if you click on. After that, I'll just comment this. Now it should open and it should write something into the text box. This is the target. I think there is some failure. Let me check what is the failure. Just give me 1 second. I'll yeah, it clicked on it. Unless it will not click, it will not be opened up. So what is the problem is now it will work. See,
Brother Ravi, it should work. I think it should work. Do you
yeah,
try
see,
any other attribute, maybe ID or expert?
yeah, sure. I think there's. You want me to try with the Expadana?
Yeah,
Can I
right
use?
click. Yeah. Right click and copy expert.
Yeah, it is taking yeah, normal Expadana.
Yeah, that's fine. Let us try. Driver
Okay.
dot find element by dot expert, and then we will give this one.
No, actually it is clicking on it, but
Yeah. Once it clicks, actually it should enter the text
yeah,
also. Yeah, there is no error in that code. It should work ideally.
maybe some compatible issue might be there in my system, Anna.
Okay.
I'll check about it. So yeah, everyone, like I think because if it is not clicking, this particular, for example, if we only after this click, this entire this drop down will be opened. We'll be able to see. If it don't click on this, it will not open. So that means this particular action is getting performed successfully. Dot click by identifying using dot name method. Okay, so I don't know, somehow dot send keys method is not working. I'll check about it and get back to you. Okay, so this is how like using dot method, and we will try to find the element on an object. Okay, so like this we can find through various methods that are available for us to for us to find out the method. So the various methods that we have in place is id id and the name partial link text. When I say partial link text, for example, if there is any link text, this is a link. Okay, you wanted to find it this particular link. So this is a link. So this is the attribute. So this is the Gmail. Gmail is the, see, for every link you will have an most of the 80% links will have the anchor tag of as A, and the text is Gmail. For example, if the link text is like a Gmail, something, this is a Gmail link. If this is actually only one word, if it is having more than one word in like a sentence, in that you can take a partial link text. That means you can text half of the text of that. So instead of Gmail, you can take GMA kind of, and write in the y dot partial link text in the brackets and the double quotations. You can write this text. Okay, if it is a dot link text, you have to write everything. If it is just a partial link text, you can write even half of it, subset of it. Okay, let me show you that. So here you have to write full dot click something. If we wanted to use with the same partial link text, here you will write, instead of complete, you will write just a GMA, something like that. Okay, and dot click. So this is how we will try to identify the elements. So partial thing and the tag name, and we can go ahead with a class name and CSS selected, and finally the XPath. So XPath actually plays a major role. When I say that XPath is like something like it combines like attributes, and it will even find out the hierarchy in the DOM structure. For example, I wanted to find out, for example, through this Gmail, I wanted to find out this something here, something, for example, let me go inside some any site is there, reset. I just open one site. Okay, not. So I just opened Gmail link. So now, so this is the sign in. This is the sign in one. So, but using this sign in, see, if you can see me, if you can see here, to find out this particular, what is a Gmail logo, there is no straight path to find it out. For example, you have a title here, but this title Google, it is not unique. If you type Google, you will have a number of things. Let me show you that. So I just typed here Google, 84 matches are there in this particular page with the type Google. So, but if I wanted to find out this one, what can I do? So in those cases, we have to use the XPath. So XPath is like, find out some unique one. So if you are able to find out this unique one, using this, try to transfer, maybe using parent, its parent, or its grandparent, and try to navigate through this particular logo. That is where the XPath comes into picture. So XPath is a very powerful locator kind of, which will help us to locate any, which will help us to transfer through the DOM, navigate through the DOM. So now what happens? So I'm trying to find out this particular, I'm trying to find out this particular sign in button. I found it. This is how we will write an XPath. Like in XPath, you try to understand here. In XPath, I'm trying to first have the anchor tag. The anchor tag is the A here. Okay, this is the A here, and then here this is something probably you would have seen new right now for the first time. So again, contains is one of the I would say it is a method which will take, you can write anything. For example, in contains, I'm telling to the control that I'm passing the control method. In that, I'm trying to find first is the what attribute you are looking into. I am looking into the text of this particular anchor tag. Wherever there is an anchor tag, you find out the text of it. So this is the anchor tag. The text of this is this one, which will be there between the anchor tags. The sign in is the text. So I'm asking it to find out the sign in text. Okay, it contains means this text contains sign in with the, so I found out from here it shows actually 4. Okay, but you can use something first one. If you wanted to find the first one, you can definitely use some some index kind of. Always, and one more thing, whenever we use, we wanted to find out, for example, if we wanted to find out some using some XPath or using some property, we wanted to find out some particular object on the application. If for using find elements or what that particular methods, if we find out the, if you are able to when more than one element is found on the application, it refers to the first element. Now what happens, first, after we uniquely identify this particular target element, from there, if we using parent keyword, we can go to this parent. When I say the parent of this A is Li, okay, and grandparent of this A is UL, okay, something like that. And ancestors of this particular parent is like ancestors are like UL is the ancestor and div is the ancestor, and again this div is the, not this one, this div is the ancestors like that. So like that, we have a structure kind of. Probably I will share it in the next this one, or you can also Google it. So if you go in depth kind of, this is how using XPath is a powerful locator, which will help us to navigate using parent and child. For example, if we wanted to, once we uniquely identify this, if we wanted to find that if actually this does not have any child kind of, okay. So even for example, if we are not able to find this unique one, so try to find something which is there in the above. Try to find something which is there in the above, and then for example, we have to we should be able to analyze. For example, this Li and this Li, both are, this Li is this Li, both are siblings kind of, they are not child kind of. This UL is if we consider this UL as a parent, this has two children, Li and Li, and the relationship between these two is siblings. Since this is a sibling and this is a sibling, these are siblings to each other. These two together will be a child to this particular UL parent class. So if we have to find out, if we are not able to find the we are not able to find the properties for this particular child, but we are able to find the property, there are unique properties for this UL class, this is a parent. So in that case, what we will do, we will try to find a unique XPath for this, and then what we will do, we'll just dot click on this and we'll write as a child of some anchor tag, some div. If it does something like that, it gets identified. Something like parent. Something like in this way. This is a syntax kind of. That is how using parent child we have to since it is not uniquely identified, it is one of four, we are not able to see it. Otherwise it will immediately highlight the what its parent is and what its child is. Since it does not have any child, it is not showing us. Okay, so this is how we will we can explore more on XPath. But to this session, maybe you just have to learn what is an XPath and how to write an XPath, a simple XPath. As we go in depth into it, so generally in this particular generally applications that we work in real time will definitely mostly 90% will have a unique attributes itself. No need to come till here, you can just take always, and it is always best practice to use name and ID. If there is any property that is ID or name which uniquely identifies that particular object on the application, it is always suggested from Selenium standpoint, standpoint that we should go ahead with the ID and name or straightforward names instead of coming to XPath. So this is how we work with locators to identify an object on the application. So what I will just leave off these locators here because I cannot spend too much time on this. I think I spent almost more than an hour on this. So, but definitely I will give you some some exercise kind of to work with so that it will indirectly you will be able to practice the all these locators. If any of you have any issues in finding any XPath, you can definitely reach out to me and Suman at any time. Maybe you can just give me a email. You can drop an email or however, or you can reach out. Then maybe definitely in that day itself, I will give you the reply instead of you waiting till next Saturday. Okay, but definitely the more you practice, the more you will get comforted with this all these methods. For now, out of this session, I would not be able to give you 100% of it, but just a glimpse, like kind of like what are all these, like what is the object identification concept, how it works in Selenium, what are the different methods that we have in Selenium to identify uniquely an object, and a basic one or two things how we looked into how to identify an object on the application. And it is now I will leave it here. You work on this like maybe with some examples, and anytime you find a doubt, you definitely you write to me. We will respond as quickly as possible. So let's go on to the next topic, that is web element methods. See, web elements method, as I gave you a clear some picture before we start. Web element methods is why it is means it is to perform some actions. Web element provides a huge list of methods to perform some action on the target object. Once we locate the object, in order to perform the action on that particular object, we have a huge list of methods as part of which are implemented in web element class. So these are some of the methods. For example, .clear. For example, if there is any if there is any text field and you want to clear it, you have already written something, but you wanted to strike it off or completely erase it off, and then you wanted to write something new. In that case, you will use a .clear method. So like that, to perform click operation, we will use .click method. And so in order to even .find method, find element is also a method of, we have used many times find element. Okay, this particular element, having not known that it is a method of a element class. Okay, and it has even find elements also. So this is one of the important method actually. For example, in any interview, they might ask you write a program to find out how many links are there in one particular page. For example, they will ask you to open Gmail page. How I opened this one. So this particular Gmail, and they will ask you to count how many links are there on this particular page. Okay, in that case, you will try to use find element methods. Okay, find elements. In this, you will give by dot link text or something like that, and you will give the anchor tag alone. What is anchor tag? Anchor tag of an image is anchor tag of a link is /A. /A will give you the it is an anchor tag for all the links. Okay, so now it will return it will return n number of objects. When I say n number of objects, more than one object. So more than one object when it is written, so it has to be captured. When I am giving some 10 rupees, other person should be able to receive it. Since it is just, if it is just a 10 rupees, you can take it by hand. But if it is some 10 lakhs, okay, if it is some 10 lakhs, then you at the receiving end, when you are receiving, you need to have some bag, a huge bag kind of, where you can accommodate all the 10 lakh notes. Okay, in the same way, find elements is something method. It will give you more than one web element. Okay, when more than one web, for example, if it is giving some 10, so something at the receiving should be receiving end should be capable of handling those 10. That is the reason we the return type of this find element methods will be list. In the list of the data type of web element, it will store all the 10. It is just nothing but an array kind of. List is also an array kind of. So whenever we use something, what its return type is, this find elements will give you the more than one. So when it is giving more than one, then you should have a list in the receiving end. So like that, for example, this is the get attribute method. Get attribute method, why it is used means, get attribute method is to find out the value of an attribute of an object. For example, there is some object, there is some object, Gmail link. Okay, you wanted to find out the attribute of what is the size of it, whatever, any attribute value. then you can use dot get attribute, and you can give the name of the attribute here, and you can store the output of this is a string. It is a value kind of, you can store it in the value. So like that, all these are the various methods that we will be using. For example, these are some of the important methods. Is displayed, is enabled, is selected. Is displayed means whenever we wanted to work find out if a particular object is displayed in the application or not. For example, we have done some transaction, and we are at the end of the transaction. At the end of the transaction, maybe some transaction ID should get displayed. Some transaction after successful transaction, some transaction ID should get displayed. So in that case, we will use this particular dot is displayed method. Okay. Like that, for example, if you wanted to find out some button is enabled or not. So for example, there will be some in application, like some calculation button will get enabled only when we give the like mandatory inputs, or like submit button gets enabled only when we give some mandatory inputs. So in that case, before we hit on the submit button, we will ensure that submit button is enabled using dot is enabled method. Dot is enabled method. So this will give you the true or false. Okay, the output of this is true or false. If it is true, then that particular button is enabled. If it is false, it is not enabled. Something like that. And this is selected is also one of the important method of the web element. Like this we can use, for example, some radio button is there. So one checkbox is there. So you wanted to find out that for example, somebody is already, it is auto checked or something like that. So in order to verify that particular checkbox for radio button is selected or not, we can use is selected method. So something like that. And see here, this is the one which you used, that send keys, dot send keys. Dot send keys is something like whatever the characters that we wanted to pass as an argument into the target object. So this send keys method can be used. So these are all the different methods based on the need, and based on the need in the test case we will be using. Okay, so this we will not learn in one shot, as in like whenever we are working in the application, whenever we are working to various scenarios, we will get to know the new things. But basically the most important thing that we in the real time mostly we will use is dot click method, find elements and find elements, and get text, get the visible. When you say get text, it will give you the visible text that is displayed on the particular object. We will use is displayed, is enabled, is selected, and of course dot send keys we will use. Yeah, these are the something major things that we will try to use in our day to day. And this get size is used to find the size of an array, size of a list kind of. Okay, here we found we received a number of web elements into a list. Now we wanted to find out what is the size of the list. So this dot get size will give you the size of the list. So so as and when it is required, we will be using, and we will learn in the real time all these things. Whenever we go through multiple example scenarios, we will learn this method. But there is nothing as we learned object identification methods like in short like 8 or something like that. These are not something like specified like only these have only 10 or 20 or something like that. Web Elements has a variety of vast number of methods, but in that majorly we use what all we discussed. Yeah, here it is there, like performs a click on an element, and get attribute gets the value of a given attribute of a element or something like that. So it is displayed, and same thing that we discussed. So so yeah, this is a new concept, good concept, or assertion. So assertion is like we have a different types of assertion, hard asset and soft asset. So assertion is nothing but, so before we get into assertion is nothing but it will just verify the actual versus expected. Okay, so it takes two arguments. Okay, it takes two arguments. It's both like it takes the actual argument and expected. It will try to verify whether both the strings are equal or not, and it can even compare two object references also. For example, there are two objects. You can find the two object references also, but I think at this point of time, still we did not work with object. So just remember only one thing: assertion is like to validate. It is a checkpoint kind of to validate to validate the expected string versus actual string. Expected string versus actual string. So assertions are nothing but you can consider as a checkpoints kind of. Assertions are nothing but we can consider as a checkpoints. But these assertions are of two types. One is hard assertion and this one soft assertion. The difference between hard and soft assertion is like hard assertion, when an assertion fails, the entire test case is halted. The control will not proceed with the next steps of execution. I'll tell you once again. In case of hard assertion, as the name itself say, it is a hard stop kind of. If the assertion is unsuccessful, that is the comparison of actual versus expected fails. So actual string is different and expected string does not match with the actual string. In that case, assertion fails. If assertion fails, if that particular checkpoint fails, the control does not go ahead with next steps of execution. The execution will be terminated then and there itself. But when it comes to soft assertion, it is again, the concept is again the same. But here, even though the comparison of actual string with the expected string, even though it fails, still it will be noted down as it is failed, but next consecutive steps of execution will be continued till the end of the script. But in case of hard assertion, if it passes, it goes in the hard assertion just like in the normal flow. But if it fails in the hard assertion, it is a hard stop kind of. But when it comes to soft assertion, even though it fails, it still control will still go ahead with the next steps of execution. So this is the main difference between hard and soft assertion. And the syntax for that is it is that just like asset dot asset equals actual and expected title. So actual title is one of the string here, and expected title is also a string here. We just included welcome to Amazon is something with string value into this expected title. Expected title is a data type of string, and we have used here two strings, actual string and expected. So this so no need to create any object for this. Create a reference. But when it comes to soft assertion, we have to create an so soft assertion this is a class, and we have to create a using this particular line. We have to create an instance. We have to create an instance for this particular soft assert class. Okay, once we give any name over here, some xy, here I give soft assert. You can give some xyz, and is equal to new. New is a keyword which is used to create an object. New is a keyword which is used to create an object, which is used to create a reference for this particular class. This is a soft assert class. Okay, so we have to create a class for hard assert. Don't need to create all those things directly. You can use assert dot. But when it comes here, you need to create an instance of this soft assert class, and then using this whatever the name that we give over here, some xyz, here I give soft assert dot, then it will give you the methods. Assert equals actual title and expected title. Here also I used actual assert equals method. So this is a syntax for both soft assert and hard assert. So like that, various methods we have various methods. Here I just used assert equals. Okay, when it says assert equals, it will compare like both should be equal, and it will give the true or false.
Abhi, can we give a break, 5-10 minutes break to the people? I think it's continuous. Some people were asking for web elements page.
Yeah, sure, Anna. I thought I will actually close with this like a session topic, and I will take. I think we have to complete by 12:30, right, Anna? So
Yeah.
maybe in another 2 minutes I will finish this, and we will take quickly take the 2 to 5 minutes the what to say questions, and I will hand it over you. As I think you have something to share with the team, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, I will just close in 2 minutes, and I will not go with the next consecutive topics. I will close with our session topic.
Yeah, it's up to you. Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, synchronization topic. I will take it in the next session. So finally, before this is all about assertion. Assertion will have more number of methods. The mainly used method is like assertion true and assertion false. Means here it is trying to validate whether this actual and expected are both are same or not, whether they are equal or not. If it is equal, it will give you true. If it is not equal, it will give you false. Here in assert true means it will try to find its target is after both comparison, after comparing the both the things, it will the answer should be true. Answer should be true. So it will only find for true. So for example, here in the same line, if I write assert true and string expected and string actual means, if both should be it should be like by default it will find it will search for the a true thing kind of like both should be equal. It will try to find it in the positive manner only. So of course it both are indirectly these both methods are equal, but we are exclusively finding for the positive scenario. If it comes to assert false, it will only try to find both should be false kind of. That's it. Both should be different kind of something like that. So in the same way we have assert same, assert not same. Assert same in the sense what it's assert same will try to when it is assert equal or assert true or assert false, it will try to find the value in an value in a particular string. It will try to compare the value of a string. When it comes to assert same, it will try to verify not the value but the reference of an object. If you want to find out the reference of the object, if you want to compare two reference of the object, then we will go ahead with a, say for example, if we have seen here, we created one reference here. For this particular soft asset class, we created one reference soft asset is equal to new. So this is the name of the object. So we should pass two particular these instances in order to use this particular assert same. Assert same will try to find out will try to compare the two particular objects, but not the values of this, not particular the values. It will try to find out it will try to verify the instances of the objects. Whereas assert equals or assert true, assert false will try to validate the value of the data type. So yeah, that's it. I think yeah, remaining couple of topics that we have, that is like a synchronization concept, where the other one we will try to cover in the next scenario. Probably now we will quickly take the questions. So myself and Suman, I will take it.
Maybe there are a couple of questions in the chat window. I think please show once again the web elements page, and then Kishore has dropped a question. And
yeah, okay, Anna.
I think for Kishore's question already Suman has responded.
Okay.
Web elements page, Shravani has asked.
Okay. Okay, so this one, right? I had problems adding TestNG library. This one you're talking about?
No.
Okay, Suman,
12:06 p.m. 12:06 p.m. There is a.
Yeah, these are web element methods. Yes, SAP. Yeah, this is what I think Shravani is asking.
Okay, yeah, this one only, right, Anna? the one which I'm showing now.
Yes, sir. Yeah, this one. Yes.
He wanted any. You want me to
No, no,
explain
just
which?
she want, I think she just want to have a view of it again. So this should be fine, I think.
Okay, 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 okay.
Yeah, go to the next slide. Yeah, here is the explanation. Yeah.
So yeah, there is one question, Anna. I think it is from Swati Saxena. Could you please explain why do we generate XPath value and not directly use the XPath value from inspect elements? There is a concept called here. Sumarana, you're there?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I am here.
Yeah, and we have two types of XPath, right? Absolute XPath and dynamic XPath. So
Yeah.
yeah, she's
Absolutely.
asking absolute XPath. I'll just try to explain her. So I'll read once again the question. Could you please explain why do we generate XPath value and not directly use the XPath value from the inspect elements? Yeah, correct. See, for example, what she's asking is, if we have to find out the XPath for this particular sign in or create an account button. So here in the left side, we can definitely see here three dots and go here, copy XPath. Okay, this will give you the definitely XPath, but this is called absolute XPath. This XPath is taken right from the beginning of the DOM structure from HTML body. So what happens as the days progresses, today we will be able to uniquely identify create an account button, here this account button uniquely with this particular XPath, no doubt about it. But tomorrow if there is any change in this particular page, if they wanted to if they wanted to include some here for work is the sign in is there, they wanted to maybe Google owner, they wanted to add some more one more link over here. When you add one more link over here, this structure will be different. This structure will no more hold good for this particular create account button. Okay, so this again you have to come and you have to change your XPath. That is the reason this is called an absolute XPath. We will not use the absolute XPath in the real time. We will only use the we call it as a dynamic XPath, or we call it is not a dynamic. Yeah, we can call it as a dynamic. We call it as a relative XPath. Okay, so we always use the relative XPath. We will try to find out the unique, when we uniquely find this particular object. Even though you add n number of objects on this application as the days goes by in the days to come, but still this create account method, whatever the XPath that we have written, it will still holds good. It will uniquely identify that particular create an account method. Hope I answered that question.
Yes, sir. In terms of relative and absolute XPaths, that is correct. It is better to go with the relative XPath. Because if there are any changes in the DOM structure, absolute XPaths will not work. So we can use the XPath, the relative XPath, by copying it. Yeah, but we cannot generate XPath. I mean, we cannot give our own XPath. We should make use of the XPath that is available because it is part of the DOM structure.
Oh, okay. Any other questions?
There is a question like, do we need to use the assert true, assert false in combination with assert equals?
Assert no need to use it. See, it is a very uniquely how we can in the real time how we can use is generally how we can use is for example, and I'll just give a real time example kind of. like we are where we will use asset equals, where we use asset true. I will just give you an example. See, generally asset equals is generally everyone will use. It is just comparison of expected and the actual. Anywhere in our text anywhere in our test case, we will if we want to compare any text or with the actual value with the value that is getting displayed in the application, we will definitely go with the actual asset equals. But where it will be holds good asset true is, for example, we are trying to do some transaction, some we in that particular transaction some 5 screens we have to fill, and at the end of submission one successful message will get displayed. After a successful completion of transaction, one successful message will get displayed, for example. So that particular whatever is there, so at the end of, we will have a checkpoint over there as an asset true, making sure that we know that it will get displayed. So that's why we will have asset true kind of. We do know that what is that particular message that get displayed, and it is a mandatory kind of. So having that value already in place with us, maybe that value can be transaction is completed successfully. Maybe this is a message that we want to be displayed at the end of successful submission. So we will have that particular string with us, and we will try to have it as a true kind of. So directly I'm trying to verifying it is actually nothing to, there is nothing much difference, but in the real-time scenario, like it is based on the test case, probably we can use.
Yes, Abhi. Yeah, it is a kind of for better readability. There are some tests we know that should pass. So we know that they should return a Boolean value of true. So there will be some tests for success. There will be some tests for failure. So tests for success we can use as a true because we know that it should be returning true. And tests for failure we can use as a false. So it is just for better readability purpose. If someone reads our code, it will be easily understandable. So that's where we use asset true and false, asset false methods.
So Abhi, we have one last question. We need to hand it over to Ravi Ranjan now. So what is interrupted exception? Explain throws interrupted exception. That's one question we have.
Okay, interrupted exception. Okay, I think when I used a thread.sleep, I think it got popped up. Yeah, this one, right? So this is altogether different concept of exception.
Maybe we will take it in the next session at
that's
exceptions.
Yeah, that's what I'm telling Anna. This is altogether a different concept exceptions. Don't spend time on this. Don't bother about it. We have a separate session on this. We will tell you what are the different types of exceptions, why we have to use, where we have to use.
Okay, so without locators, can we find address of an object?
Without locators, address for in which instance, Anna?
No, that's the question.
See, it's the question is maybe question can be rephrased. I think every element will have an address because every element is part of a DOM structure. So every element will have an address. Otherwise, it won't be visible on the web page. Okay. So every element will have an address, but the question is, without using locators, can we perform actions on the web elements? I think that's not possible. We should use the address, and then we have to perform the actions on the web elements.
Directly, we can say one word. We can without using without locators, we cannot do. We cannot work with the objects on the application.
Yes, without using the address, we cannot perform actions on the objects. Correct.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks, Devi and Suman. So we have just last 5 minutes. We will hand it over to Ravi Ranjan. He will just give an overview of what's upcoming, the next sessions from InterSkill. Over to you, Ravi Ranjan. You're on mute.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, so I hope you guys are enjoying these sessions. So thank you for your interest and hope that coaches are doing good job. I just want to spend a couple of minutes in the upcoming sessions that we have. Right after this Selenium training, we have Agile Scrum training coming up on 18th and 25th of July. So we will be wrapping up the Selenium on the 11th of July. That would be our session 5. And after that, immediately then following Saturday, we will have Scrum training. So this is for anybody who wants to learn what is Scrum and want to become a Scrum Master or want to be a Scrum team member. So anything related with Scrum and as methodologies. As you know that right now, almost all the companies, major companies are moving towards Agile method of development when compared with the previous way of working, which is SDLC, software development life cycle, which mostly we use a waterfall method. But because of the dynamic changing environment that we are living in, so many organizations, many customers are also going towards Agile and Scrum. So this will help you to basically to bring you up to speed in Scrum. So we have two trainers, that's myself and my MTech classmate Prashant. We both will be taking these sessions for 2 days, and we will be covering a lot of stuff. So on session 1, at the day 1, we will have Agile manifesto and principles, Scrum framework, and what is a product vision, product backlog, and how to write user stories, and DOR and DOD and product increment. In session 2, we will have the different meetings that we have in the Scrum, and how to do Agile estimations, how they do release planning, and some of the tools that we use to manage the project development in Agile that we also see. We also see a case study. And we will give you a brief overview of what are the certifications that are available in the market and how you can get certified. So these two sessions are very important. Register yourself and encourage others to join this. You will see the flyer into your inboxes sometime in the mid of the coming week. There is a dedicated flyer for this, which will give you the basically where you need to register. So tinyurl.com, enter skill Scrum training. Yeah, and you go to this page, and then you can register yourself and ask your friends also register them. So the another program that we are doing and starting this week is what we call as Intercare. Intercare is basically a professional help by senior industry experts on various aspects of our life, either it be career development or our personal financial planning and our emotional wellness. Right now, as we know that there is so much happening, which we never expected in our lifetime. Outside, there many people are losing their jobs. Many customers are, rewriting their contracts and reducing the workload to offshore. And there's a economical crisis, there's a recession luring at us. So all this stuff is there. So many people in our industry are also worried about what to do in this situation, how to progress in my career, how I can have a more secure job. And some of the people are having tough times managing their finances. They planned so much, and now everything is shaking. And how do I manage my finances and reduce my stress? And some people are emotionally, charged up because of the situations at work, situations at family. And so we have people who are in the industry, who have walked this path, who have gone through ups and downs in their career, and they will help us. And all your data and conversations are strictly confidential. You will get attached to one person, one helpmate, to whom you will be sharing, and that's it. Nobody else, even our team members also will not know. So based upon your type of need, whether you want a guidance or your career or your financial planning, appropriate expert will be handshake with you, hooked to you one-on-one, and then you can share all that you said in your heart, and you can ask them to help you out in reorganizing yourself and moving forward. So yeah, so these are the two things that I want to just bring to your notice. Number one is Scrum training upcoming July 18th and 25th. Register yourself and pass it on to your friends who will get benefited of this. This is also a free training. And then next one is Intercape. Starting this week, we will help the people who are struggling emotionally or worried about their career and finances. So it is just a helping hand, just to guide you with the experience that we have in the industry. So with that, I encourage you to make use of these opportunities and be fully prepared for a bright future. So thank you, Joseph, for giving me this time, and over to you, back to the coaches, Eddie.
So thank you all for joining. We are done with this third session of Selenium. We would soon share the content and the recording to everyone, and see you all on the fourth session, which would be on next Saturday at 10:30 a.m. Okay. Thank you all.
Thank you.